Bienvenidos a Race Talk Show. This is your servidor, Ray Collazo. Race Talk Show helps talented and service-oriented professionals find wealth in your voice. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're looking for a community that will inspire and mentor you con ese sabor, you've come to the right place. Thank you again for joining us. If you're watching here live on the Blab platform, which we always appreciate our live audience members, or you're watching this as a YouTube video or on BigBrotherRay.com's website, or as a podcast, you can download Race Talk Show as a podcast by downloading it on iTunes or Google Play now, or anywhere you can check out a podcast, or check out any of our content, including Periscope sometimes, Facebook Live, do different types of content. Just go to BigBrother.com. That's BigBrotherRay.com. When we met our very special guest recently and learned about their mission to support women through the power of self-esteem, generosity, and sisterhood, I knew they were going to be a big part of the Race Talk Show community, and of course, also the Somos Podcasters community from the Mamas con Ganas online brand. Welcome to Race Talk Show, Valentina Izahra and Wendy Balba. Valentina, Wendy, welcome.
Thank you.
Our communities have overcome revolutions, the Columbus Passage. We could certainly overcome some Blab technical difficulties. So for those that are watching this as a replay or as a podcast, we had some technical glitches, but we have persevered, and it's so wonderful to have our great friends Wendy and Valentina here. Wendy and Valentina, for those that are not familiar with the Mamas con Ganas brand, this brand has been founded by Wendy and Valentina for sexy mamas, just like you, who are looking to live a fulfilling life with purpose con ganas. What a powerful statement. Their mission is to motivate, uplift, and empower Latinas through positivity, inspiration, and education. Wendy and Valentina, welcome to Race Talk Show. Such an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much, Ray, for having us today. We're so excited.
This is awesome. And just a note, the sexy mamas comment was in their biographical materials. This was not an editorial comment by Ray Collazo. I just want to make sure everyone, but you all can be the, real is real, but I just want to let everybody know. So, and maybe we'll talk later a bit about what makes it truly a sexy mama. That's an interesting conversation.
That's a good question.
Again, absolutely. And Bertie, Tachi, Felix, Cindy, Brenda, all of our friends watching here live, you'll have a chance shortly to be part of this conversation. But we wanted to start the show for people not familiar with Wendy and Valentina and the Mamas con Ganas online platform. So Wendy and Valentina, you didn't start this journey as online content creators inspiring women literally all over the world. So Wendy and Valentina, where did this journey begin for you?
Well, the history is actually very interesting of Mamas con Ganas, because although Wendy and I have been best friends since the university, we went to FIU together, we studied international business. Once we graduated, our paths went completely separate ways. Wendy became part of sales and marketing for corporate America, has had over 13 years climbing up the corporate ladder with companies such as GE and Coke. And I became a professional actress and went into the entertainment industry. So we actually, about a year ago, had a conversation which was kind of interesting because we talk to each other every day, don't we, Wendy?
Yeah.
Real girlfriends. I like that.
Yes.
Latinas are intense in our friendship. It's awesome. I love it.
Oh, yeah, we're intense.
Even if you have to break up friendship for a while, it's because sometimes it just gets so intense. It works out at the end. All is good. It all makes sense.
We live in separate coasts now. We both were living in Miami, but now Wendy has moved to Napa and I'm still in Miami. And we had a conversation and we were both in awe because we were both coming up with the same sort of idea, this idea to inspire and empower women and come up with an organization on how to do that. But we had never actually said anything out loud to one another. And we had this conversation, which was sort of revealing. And it was one of these aha moments. And that's when we decided to merge our passions. And we realized that we had been thinking of the same type of organization, but separately. So that's how it started.
Yeah, it was really interesting because, like Valentina's point, we talk about it. And I was hesitant and I would name my have the organization. I was actually doing an non-for-profit with other PE employees. I was part of the Hispanic Forum, the leader on the Hispanic identification, and it's such a great forum because it's uniting Latinos and helping them grow in their career. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, but outside of technology. And when I was in Valentina, I was like, oh, I'm thinking of doing this. I've been planning this 2010. The idea is running, but I just want to make it, execute it in this year. That was 2015. And I'm like, can you help me with names? And he was like, well, I'm kind of doing.
We're going to begin for you, Wendy. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Can I do it now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So Valentina and I speak the whole week throughout the day, and it never came the conversation of what we're building. We were both building the same type of company. I was into doing a non-for-profit. Valentina was, on the other hand, looking more of an entertainment type of organization. And when we were talking, I wasn't clear yet on what name I wanted to bring it. And I asked her, can you help me with the name, and explain a little bit of what I was doing. And the funny thing is that she was doing the exact same thing. And we're like, well, let's both work together. And you build that Mama con Ganas. At this time, the not-for-profit was called Wired to Inspire. The same demographic, and we caught ourselves talking every day so many times that we're like, let's just merge the ideas and bring self-improvement, career development, amongst other topics. So that's kind of like how we will both merge both of our ideas.
And what, it's so interesting, because the beauty of the online, this modern age, is that creating something is easier than ever before. So I'm curious about, there are other Latina bloggers, there's other networks of Latinas doing some wonderful things online and offline to empower other people. So what helped you kind of flesh out your vision that you felt was needed in the online space?
Well, like Wendy said, she had worked for the G Hispanic Forum, and that totally transformed her way of thinking, because she realized that there were a lot of people that were getting a lot of tools for the workplace that other people were not getting. They didn't have access to. So her concern was all of these tools for like going up the corporate ladder or becoming an entrepreneur that she thought would be very valuable for our community as Hispanics. And I, on the other hand, became very passionate about the self-improvement world and all the self-help books, because I'm a self-help junkie. And I realized that there were not a lot of inspirational, motivational speakers out there for women that were bringing this type of information, to leave lives with drive. And that's why that name came about, was, women with drive, mamas con ganas. So mamacitas, mama is the word in English, like, hey, mama, what's up, mama, sexy mama, con las ganas, with the drive to succeed in life, in all aspects of life, both in the personal aspect and in the working aspect.
One of the things I love about your brand and the mission of your platform is that word ganas. That is such a powerful word in the Spanish language. And so, Wendy, talk to me about that. What does your that it's a very powerful statement to say mamas con ganas. Really it is. Right? Because you're sort of taking language as women back, if you will, right? Because mama could be used in street slang, it could be used in negative connotation, but like you're really kind of taking language and using it in a way that empowers yourself. So Wendy, talk to me about your title. I find it very provocative, and I think it really speaks to something very powerful.
I love our name. I hear it so many times throughout the day, whether I'm talking to my mom on the phone or Valentina, or I'm listening to the radio, or somebody's walking in the supermarket, and we use ganas, the word drive, so much throughout the day. It's like, eat con ganas, work con ganas, do it con ganas. Like everything is like, do it like you really want to do it, like you really mean it, put your heart into it. So it's very passionate, the word, and it goes with our culture so well. Valentina can talk more how the name was born. Go ahead.
Well, we originally wanted a name in Spanglish because we want to speak to the Latinas who live in the United States, and we communicate in Spanglish. A lot of us are bilingual, and we go back and forth from one language to the other. So we wanted something catchy. We wanted something that was bilingual. A lot of people take the name in the naughty way, because in Spanish, if you say it all in Spanish, it has several meanings, some more naughty than others, but some people get us right away. Usually it's the men who have the big eyes when we say mamas con ganas and dirty meaning.
we can find something fresh in a lot of things. So don't take it personal.
There you go. But yes, we wanted something that people would remember. That definitely happens. We've had people say to us, well, we never forget your name. I have a funny story. Yesterday was my son's birthday, and we have this custom, I don't know why, in Venezuela, at least my family, that when we cut the cake, we scream at the same time. So we go, ah, when we scream. And I was videotaping him, and I said, Lucci, scream. And instead of screaming, he screams out loud, don't be a mama con drama. Let's be mamas con ganas.
The brand is real. The brand is real. It's so funny. Your country obviously touches the Caribbean waters, because any country, island that touches Caribbean always has something crazy with birthdays. So Puerto Ricans, we love to put cake on our faces. I don't know what it is. Like every little kid, I would dread. I don't really like frosting that much. I would dread my birthday as a kid because my family was like putting cake all over my face. Oh my goodness! And you didn't mention it, so I want to make sure we shout it out. I was sharing with Wendy that I must say this. I'm not necessarily proud of it because it was overdue, but I believe you all are the first Venezolanas on Race Talk Show. So much respect to our friends from Venezuela. It's a wonderful country. I wanted to shout out a former coworker of mine, Maria de Cambra, Venezolana, who was born in Miami, raised in Venezuela, actually, and is now a city councilwoman in Colorado outside of Denver. Wow. So she is a powerhouse young woman, going to have a great political future and a great friend of ours. So wanted to shout out our Venezolanas out there who are out here representing for us, for everybody. It's really interesting because one of the things that, going back to the name, is that one of the things I found really intriguing about the name was that when I first met you two are pros. I mean, you're very professional women. And what I like about it flows with your name is that you're both very professional women, and dare I say, like classy women.
Thank you.
But you wear your Latino hood in your sleeve, and you don't mind being casual and being friendly and talking about being mamas con ganas, if that makes sense. And I think that your profile and your message, I think it's so important for Latinas in this modern day, and maybe I'd be curious to hear what our Latinas that are watching this and hearing this think about this statement, is that because I think that is kind of a constant dance you all have. It's like you're high achievers. You're trying to fit this colorful, energetic aesthetic in many times like a kind of a stale corporate environment. You're trying to keep it real. You're trying to be yourself. You're overachievers. And there's always this like balance thing, and I think your image and your brand really speak to that. So talk to us about why is that helping women strike that balance and ultimately stay themselves? Because I think that's the struggle, right? It's like, how do I do what I want to do in a way that I feel is true to myself, truly? And being Latina in this case is a very powerful part of that. So how does your brand speak to that mission that you're trying to achieve to help Latinas?
Well, first of all, we wanted to communicate with our audience. We call them mamacitas. And for us, our mamacitas are our Latina friends, which are Latinas, sexy mamas. And we want to speak to them as friends. That's why we actually put it in Spanglish. But the other thing is, like you're saying, we have like a professional hat that we put on. And then we put on the hat of the sexy mama. And then we have the hat of mothers. And then we have the hat of lovers. We have all sorts of hats that we all need to fit into one. At the end of the day, we're one person and we're just putting different hats on. And, in terms of like the mamas con ganas, we wanted people to feel like we were talking to them and giving them the tools that we've acquired, that we know, and hand it over to them in case it can help them as well. But do it in a way where we're talking to them like they're our friends. And if it helps them, great. And if it doesn't, then it's something that they might pass along to somebody that might need that advice or that knowledge. I don't know if you want to add something to that, Wendy.
I think you just said it. we one of the things I think I felt more Latina moving to now, and I say that because a lot of Latinos in Florida, they embrace being Latinos, whether it's Colombian, Venezuelan, Peruvian, Mexican. They just like have a party every time somebody meets. They're like, oh my God, you're Mexican, you're Colombian. And when I came here, it sort of felt like the Latino wasn't that proud to say I'm Latina. And the funny thing is when moving into Napa, I think I'm like the only one that speaks English and Spanish to someone that doesn't look Spanish. But it's just because I was in Miami for so long. And then at the same time, I dress very colorful. And you don't see that much in Napa. So it kind of, I stick like a sore thumb here. But one of the things I can say is I want to empower the Latina to come out and be proud, because I've met so many of them and they all work in the wine industry or some sort of, the biggest industry here is in the wine. And that was one of the things that I wake up and I'm so proud of everything that we're doing in Mamas con Ganas to help our mamacita and help them embrace them. And we're all beautiful. So I think our brand plays into that as well.
Absolutely.
So before we get to our first break, and we definitely want to give Wendy and Valentina an opportunity to, again, remind people where they can find more information about Mamas con Ganas brand. And I'm going to have make a very special announcement before we get into the second part of the show. I did want to ask, one of the things that's so great about y'all brand is that it is two hermanas working together, close friends. And one of the things that I would love to see more of is, I meet these, not only these great Latinas, but great friends, people that are friends. And so many of them dream about having a business together, doing something like this together that's also fun, but also speaks to this mission that they have, this greater calling. So I'm curious, Wendy and Valentina, if you have any advice for Latinas that are listening to this, watching this, that may want to start a business together, may be thinking about starting a podcast or creating some online content, but just aren't, we're busy or we haven't been able to figure out what our message is going to be. And I know we have some content creators that are watching this may have some thoughts on this as well. So any advice you have for people that on how to sort of bring your visions together and just get yourself out there and do this as a team?
Well, I believe very highly in purpose. We all have a purpose for being here. And I also believe that we all have, I call it, I guess, a divine assignment. And if you feel that you're meant to do something and you're dreaming of an organization and you're meant to carry it out with somebody that's very special to you, then by all means, if it's born in the heart and it has good intentions, I think that there's no reason why not to do it. I think everything born out of the goodness of your heart, in the end, given a lot of love, everything is like a garden. If you put water in it, and you put the seeds in there, the flowers will grow. So I encourage anybody who has a dream to go for it. It's scary. It's definitely scary. And that's why in one of our episodes, we talked about fear, overcoming fear, because we all have doubts in our head and our ego gets in the way and we all think, oh, I can't do this. And we make up a million excuses why not to do it. But I think ultimately we're more scared of our success than we are of our failure. And we sort of just have to take, how do you say, the bull by the horns and go with it, go with our heart, go with our gut, and trust in ourselves that we can make things happen. And, Wendy and I have had a conversation. It's a conversation we had a lot of times right before starting our venture. And it's the fear of working with somebody that you love so much, because in reality, when you go into business with someone, it becomes sort of like a marriage. Yeah. It becomes sort of like a marriage. So we were scared because we're best friends and we don't want anything to ruin our friendship. And I think we have to be conscious to, you know, how in the way that we speak to one another, in the way that we communicate with each other, and keep the lines of communication open, and also ultimately realize that we both have the same vision and the same mission in mind. And if we keep our eye on our mission, which is to empower women, then I think we can achieve that, you know, hopefully, you know.
I'm going to ask Wendy to add to that with another bit of advice. But on that, I just wanted to, one of the things I wanted to take out of Valentina's comments, and I'll put it in the show notes when we post the podcast on BigBrotherRay.com. I had a show a few months ago about, you know, kind of what are the steps to sort of start your online brand from scratch, which I did with a semi-regular co-host of mine, una Italiana, Maria Florio. And I think it was number 2 on the list, but I think it may be the most important thing is you got to produce content. You know, you can sit around and talk, and especially I'm talking to you high-achieving Latinas out there, you want everything to be perfect. And let me tell you something, it ain't going to be perfect. You do this for 3 years, it ain't going to be perfect. I've done 215 episodes of this show. It ain't going to be perfect for a long time. And so but the only way you're going to find your voice, the only way you're going to sort of, you know, because you're only going to have an idea, you're not going to really know, right? And so the feedback you get, the feeling you get from doing this, you know, Wendy Valentina, I literally started doing your podcast thinking it was going to be a political show. And then when I started talking to my friends, our conversations may have started there, but they went into this sort of deeper meaning about our lives and how I knew all these incredible people, many of which were Latinas, not all, but many around the country that have this incredible skill set and feel like they're in this cage because the job they have is they're bored, they're smarter than their boss, they're super underpaid, and they just want to soar. And so we want to help them and all of our friends here on the Race Talk Show community with that. So produce something, spit it out, a blog, a video, what have you. So the actress in the group gave us a very ethereal answer about emotion and inspiration. So let's get the businesswoman to give us something practical. So if we have 2 women, or just 2 friends, like you said, it's 2 friends that want to do something, get it online. Wendy, give us a practical bit of advice about putting that together.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm a huge plan. And for me, it's all about numbers and quantifying and visualizing the plan. And that's just my business mindset. And I can tell you, there's no perfect path. Things come up. And the one thing that I would say that I've learned is you need to be flexible and you need to be open to new ideas and communicate. That's so key. If you're going into a partnership, be sure that there's a good line of communication, that you have the same mission and vision, and it's a marriage. So you have to grow that marriage, grow that partnership, because whatever's happening internally, it's going to reflect externally. And then after that, I would say, like Matthew Ray, content is key. Just execute and just do it. It will become better every time. And I'll tell you something. I was afraid to be on camera. I've been a public speaker and I presented in front of 8 people to 800 people. But in front of camera, I would panic. Like, I don't know, the first time we went on camera, I was sweating. I felt like I had a tick on my face. It was horrible. And now we've done it so many times, whether it's through an iPhone or now like a live podcast, that I feel more comfortable. And there's certain techniques that you're going to learn and what you're going to feel more comfortable. So just do it, execute, content is key, and follow through. So just do it. I would just say, whatever it's in your heart, if you say, I'm going to do it starting once a month, do it. And every other week, and then it'll be every week, and just be consistent. That's my food for thought.
That is outstanding, and I definitely got out of that part of the conversation. Besides, you just got to spit it out, right? Which I am a big believer of, is communication. And obviously, we'll talk more about sort of the inner workings of the Mamas con Ganas crew and how you all are collaborating, because we've got people collaborating on multiple levels watching this show, and My associate producer, Donna, is on. Felix, who's part of the Somos Podcasters community. So there's a lot of collaboration going on here, and that's so positive. One of the great things I think, particularly in our generation of Latino leaders, content creators, what have you, is that, we so much live in the spirit of abundance. And one of the things I'm finding is that we're the world out here, like, sort of offline, it can be so negative. And so many of the good folks are sort of going underground to go online to find like-minded people. They don't want to be divisive, don't want to live that way, and understand that there's so much for all of us to do. And so this is the spirit of this conversation, and the Mamas con Ganas mission is definitely a part of that. I want to definitely talk about some of the content you all have been producing, including, in particular, the last few blogs you all have produced, mamasconganas.com, which I think really speak to the conversations that Latinas and content creators are having all the time about life balance, self-fulfillingness, and self-worth, a very powerful phrase. But let's get a shout out. So Wendy and Valentina, let people know before we get into the next segment of Race Talk Show, where they can find you all online. I know, but can you guess, they're big Instagrammers? What a shocker. Let people know where they can find you all in social media, and any shout outs you'd like to share before we get to the next segment.
Yes, you can find us at mamasconganas.com. And you can also check out our YouTube channel, Mamas con Ganas. And also on all our social media, we are also Mamas con Ganas. So,
that is awesome.
Yeah, and you can subscribe to our newsletter also, and to our weekly newsletter, where we'll keep you updated as to all the episodes. We produce our episodes in both Spanglish and also in Spanish for people who want it only in Spanish, but in both languages, because we created a language with Spanglish.
Absolutely. So no, and definitely check them out. Is it safe to say that you hang out the most? You know how people say that word. Do you hang out the most on Instagram? Would that be safe to say in terms of your social media platforms?
Yeah, I would say so. Between Instagram and Facebook.
And Snapchat lately.
And Snapchat.
Y'all are Facebook friends with me, but that's another conversation. But are you on Snapchat? Oh, I check y'all on Snapchat. That sounds very interesting. That's very cool. Snapchat is taking over the world. There's no doubt about it. Do you know that they released some Edison Research released some statistics, which actually spoke to the explosion of podcasting, which is another conversation, but we'll have later. But that amongst 12 to 24-year-olds, they index more on Snapchat than Facebook. That's incredible if you think about it. So Snapchat is, if you're, that cohort is, it's just amazing. A lot of our friends are on Snapchat as well. But we wanted to, again, remind people they're watching Ray's talk show, whether it's live here on the Blab platform or on BigBrotherRadio.com, as well as on YouTube or anywhere you may be seeing the replay of this video. And again, this is also this was founded originally as a podcast. So we really appreciate our podcast listeners listening to the audio version of the show, which you can download on iTunes, Google Play now, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to the podcast. Now, everyone, podcasting is big time now. So we've been in the game for some time, and definitely want to support our everyone, including the Tamarindo podcast who's watching, and other friends, Felix Montalada, Potencial Millonario, and others. I don't know, Bertie, podcast or not, but definitely want to shout out all of our Latinos podcasting and who will be podcasting in the near future, including the Mamas con Ganas crew. For the folks watching live, we'd be honored if you send a Twitter note to friends and Facebook to check out the next segment of the show. And wanted to announce that the Race Talk Show community is joining forces with Felix Montalada of Potencial Millonario, Arturo Nava from Logra to Dream, and another Latina podcaster representing the Bay Area, Marcy Quintana from the Hispano Entrepreneur Podcast, to found Somos Podcasters. Right now it's a hashtag, and so definitely start utilizing the Somos Podcasters hashtag for your social media content, particularly when it references Latinos in podcasting. And we will be having next month a webinar for anyone either interested in starting their own podcast, sort of a 2.0 from our podcast panel at Hispanicize, and those like our friends like Brenda and others that are podcasting but want to kind of take it to the next level and find a community of people that are podcasting to share tips and support each other. So definitely look out for that. I put my email on the chat, so people can shoot me an email. Bertie, if we need more Tejanas podcasting, so send me an email, please. And we actually have a survey that we're asking people to fill out, so we can know exactly what are the needs out there, what are the questions people have, so we can have a fantastic podcast going on. So welcome back to Ray's Talk Show. This is your virtual big brother, Ray Collazo. If you're looking for an online community to help you find wealth in your voice, if you're just looking to get out of the cage of a stale career and just soar, do your thing, show us your stuff, share your unique, special message, particularly from a Latino perspective, you've come to the right place. Thank you so much for joining Ray's Talk Show. We're having a conversation today with two great friends of the show and the Somos Podcasters community, Valentina and Wendy from the Mamas con Ganas platform, which you can find all of their content, their videos, their blogs, and soon to be their podcast at mamasconganas.com. And if you don't know what Mamas con Ganas is about, listen to the beginning of the show, Google it, and check out more of their platform. These are some women that are very important in this space, empowering women through their incredible message. So I wanted to give people a flavor of the show. We're going to let our live viewers join on in a few minutes, and we've got some folks that want to say hello to and ask questions directly on the show to our panel today from Mamas con Ganas. And I wanted to give people a flavor of the kind of content that you're providing our community here online. So Valentina, it was a great blog that you had recently related to the power of self-worth. And I think especially Latina overachievers struggle with this because from the surface, they got it going on in every way. But many times they're still struggling with that imposter syndrome, or not feeling they've got the balance thing going, the way they want it, or they've achieved what they wanted to achieve, whether it's in career or from a family perspective or personal perspective. So why did you think writing that blog was so important, discussing the power of self-worth for your community?
Yes. Well, self-worth is something that, is something that's so important. From when we're little, we're either taught to have self-worth or we're put down. And to have self-worth and to know our value, our real value, is really important. Not just a value, when we're looking good or when we're feeling smart or when we're getting an award, but real value that inside, because we're all worthy. And the message that I wanted to portray and send with this message is that we're all worthy. Right now, no matter what we're going through, you matter. Everybody matters. And sometimes, I was lucky enough to have a mother who was always talking about self-esteem and the value of real self-worth. No, not just the exterior, what you look like or the grades that you get. It's much deeper than that. But it wasn't until I went through something really difficult in my life that I realized just how important that truly is to have in life, to have a real sense of I matter no matter what's going on, even if I have things happen to me in my life, even if I'm betrayed, or even if I have things that happen to me, or even if I go through struggles, no matter what, at the end of the day, I matter. And it's something that I think we're going to be bringing up more than once, more than twice in the term, the actual theme of self-esteem and self-worth. It's something that resonates with all of us. And so that's, yeah.
What kind of reaction or feedback do you get? I'm curious about when you talk about self-worth, self-esteem, because, on some level, that's a very personal, it's in a very powerful conversation. So I'm curious what kind of feedback and what kind of discussions your online community is having related to those that content.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not everybody is lucky enough to have somebody while they're growing up to tell them that they're worthy and that they matter. So when people hear this for the first time and they hear it from somebody that they don't even know, it can be something that's very powerful. I myself have read a lot of books that have changed my life completely for the better, and that have made me see the world in a different way, in a much more beautiful way. And, Wendy and I were talking about this earlier today, that one of the things that we really, really want to do is be a platform for positivity. Because, now with the internet, there's so much information out there. There's an overload of information. We're overloaded with information. But a lot of times, unfortunately, that information can be sometimes negative, or there's a lot of bullying that you see online. And we want to be a part of a movement for positivity and sisterhood, because we truly believe in sisterhood. For me, it's been very important. For Wendy, it's been very important. And it's sort of like passing down a baton or holding each other's hands while we're not together, but we're there in spirit. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think to add to that, Valentina, we actually, one of our friends at that time, she was going through a lot of changes in her life, work, and so forth. She read our blog, and she's like, I love it because one of the last lines that Valentina says is like, ¿Cómo es que soy un? Trying to remember. Oh, you're either a tiny speck of dust in the universe, or you feel like you're. How was that, Val? Like,
no, yes, I said at the end, that the grain of sand, el granito de arena, could say to themselves, soy un granito de arena, I'm a little piece of sand. Or they could say to themselves, I'm the beach, soy la playa. So it's two ways of looking at the world. You can see yourself as very small and diminished, or you can see yourself as very significant, as being part of something much more than just yourself. And that's special.
Yeah, no. No, please.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please.
Oh, to hear that from a friend of ours that, that she was going through a hard time that week, and this motivated her and said, I have to discover my self-worth. I am unique, and it's true. So that makes us feel really good that we have, our fans or friends commenting on that, and that we're impacting someone's life. That's what I wanted to say.
Another reason why so many people that are not already doing so to develop online content develop a platform, develop brand in whatever format it is or multi-format it is that you just never know how you're going to impact people. You really don't. I had no idea, going back to our friend Brenda Gonzalez in the Tamarindo podcast, I had no idea that 6 months ago when I was having this conversation about this dream I had about, building this platform and developing a network of content, podcasts and content creators. From our perspective, she would start her own podcast, and it's just so, and how much she's already inspired people in 4 episodes, and she's getting invited to be on shows with her message, and it's awesome because it's until you I'm sure that the reaction you all got from your friend empowered you. And reaffirmed what, the reason you have Mamas con Ganas in the first place. So it's really powerful. The other thing, and I'm curious, Wendy, what your thought is on this, is that when you talk about the power of sisterhood, I'm sure there's people listening to this, particularly some younger women that are saying, wow, a lot of times younger women, especially those that are about something in their life, is that, that they're not necessarily having the most positive experiences with their female peers. Whether, you see the dynamics of bullying unfortunately in this society, or, as you get older, quote unquote hating, and, just family drama. I mean, it can come out in a lot of different formats. Glass ceiling, right? So how about for those women that maybe don't have that kind of, at least professional sisterhood? What is your message to them that's resonating that you find?
I would say find online support, or find a mentor, or find people that can help you. People are out there willing to help. I have a lot of mentors. I've had mentors through my career, and I had a lot of certain coaches. But one of the things I would say is don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to, because there are people out there that are willing to stand a hand. And I think a lot of the times we go into a little bubble and we don't want, be vulnerable. But because we don't want to be vulnerable, then we don't know who can help us out there, whether it's you're going through something that's personal, that's really hard, or career. And there are people out there willing to help. And if social media, what you're getting is negative, maybe kind of do a cleanse and say, well, I'm not going to do the social media routine because it's not helping me, it's not motivating me, and maybe I should try another type of avenue. If your interest is, whether it's working out or going to theater, whatever it is, trying to find that medium, and then you'll meet other people. Once you change that routine, you're going to start meeting other people that are willing to motivate you and willing to help you, and surround yourself with those people that make you smile. Because I think everybody should have a smile on their faces and be positive. We all have our ups and downs. My life is not perfect. And when I'm down, I one of the things I do, I have Valentina's son recorded on my phone, and other of my friends' son, and they've left messages on my birthday that make me smile, and I uplift myself with that. I listen to that, or I'll listen to something on a podcast or a TEDx talk that makes me happy. And the other thing I do, and this is going to be like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of Modern Family and Friends. So if I ever want to have a smile on my face, tuning to that.
And just to
That
add, sorry,
no.
just to add to Wendy's whole comment on sisterhood, in my experience, and I think in Wendy's experience as well, the most successful women are the ones that are the most willing to share, how they were able to go about in their journey and achieving what they have. And you'll find that that's the truth for men and women, that the ones that are like, a lot of the ones that you'll look up to the most in the end are the ones who have done great things with their life, but they're also the ones who have a sweet heart and who are totally willing to share their experiences, and not that just are good, but also share, the struggles that they've gone through. So if you're looking for that type of woman who you find sisterhood in, they're out there. There's definitely tons of great women out there. I vouch for girls.
Brenda and Letty on the side are concurring. There are haters out there. Yes. Oh, yes. I've dealt with La Cara de Fuchi, and that must be an LA thing. I'm not real familiar with the Fuchi thing. Anyway, maybe one of y'all will come on and school us on that. But no, that's definitely real. And it's interesting. You talk about. I think the dynamic related to asking for help and support is so timely, because typical guy, I must admit, I did 32 this past birthday. Okay. I did 32 episodes of a podcast and before I could get it on iTunes, because I didn't want to ask anybody how to put it on iTunes. So I just had them on SoundCloud, and I just Googled until I found it. Of course, if I had called Felix or something, he would have told me. But typical guy, I just want to figure it out on my own. So I think that's a very powerful thing, and it's okay if you don't know it all, particularly people that are doing this sort of online stuff. I know that many times people, and I find particularly women oftentimes seem a little intimidated by the technical part of the podcasting piece, and it's just, you just got to ask. It's not that complicated. So I think that's a very powerful thing. Tamarindo podcast is signing off. Her 5th episode is being released momentarily. So thank you, Brenda, for joining us on the show. Wendy, did want to ask you yet another intriguing, I thought a very timely blog post recently related at Mamas con Ganas, related to finding fulfillment through giving. So can you talk to us a little bit about why you thought that was such an important conversation to have recently?
Absolutely. Well, it's funny how it turned out, because we're both, Val and I, getting ready to launch our category of working career oriented and to help the mamacitas in their career development. And just that weekend, or 2 weekends before, actually, the Ecuador had a 7.8 magnitude earthquake. And I don't know if you've known, but my family is from Ecuador. My mom's Ecuadorian. And at that moment, at that moment, I felt like I had a calling. I need to write something, but I also need to encourage and show how whenever you're giving, you also find that self-fulfillment. And Valentina and I were talking like how do we come up? Because whenever you're talking about giving, a lot of the times people misinterpret it, be like, oh, it's donating money, it's, giving time, but it goes so many different ways. And Val and I have participated in throughout our lives, in whether it's been a Thanksgiving brigade or a Christmas, donating toys for Christmas for the kids, and when the whole thing with Ecuador came, it moved me so much, and I was so saddened that I felt like I needed to do something. And one of the things that I think we have power for is communicating this and showing other people that it's like a little tiny help can help a family or kids in so many ways. And we that whole week that happened, I was devastated. I think I was crying, and I couldn't help it, because it's a lot of people that died. It's like thousands of people that died, and they're still finding people that died because of the earthquake, and a lot of victims. And we started collecting clothing, because like 3 weeks after the earthquake, I had already planned to be in Ecuador, but by no means I thought of going there because what happened with the earthquake. But it turned out great, because I was visiting my family, and I brought with me all these collected clothes from like different friends and family to bring to Ecuador and donated. And this is when like I feel a lot better. Like my heart was just shattered seeing other people that are less fortunate that we are, and how do I help them? And it just kind of really it's a fulfilling feeling. And that's when, you know, it kind of resonated, like the whole thing of how do we help others and at the same time be sure that what we're giving, it's you know, it's an act of service, and how to how the importance that it has, and how that can be impacting not just one life but so many lives. And that's also why we put like the Gandhi quote on our blog: the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So that had a lot of heart put into that blog. And I was afraid to do it because I was just like bawling my eyes the whole time, but I'm glad we did it. And it came just around the time of, you know, what had happened in Ecuador, and also the earthquake that happened too in Japan. So many things that we're like, okay, we need to put something out there. So
and
that's
just
how that blog happened.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you know, sometimes when we're going through really hard times, we don't realize that if we, during those times, we actually dedicate our energy towards helping other people, that it can be so healing for ourselves. And that's why this Gandhi quote is so beautiful, because it is the best way to find yourself is through helping other people. And it was so perfect to describe what Wendy was going through in terms of seeing all the suffering from the country that her parents came from, and then being able to switch around her energy and being able to say, okay, I can do something positive. We can do something to impact. And that can be, like I said, healing. And that can make you change your mindset completely and change it into, you know, from sadness to happiness or fulfillment.
It never fails that when you focus on giving and being generous and service, how much more you get back than you gave. It's just, it doesn't, in whatever iteration it is, you know, I don't know if we had the conversation when we met, Valentina and Wendy, you know, my oldest son is adopted, and he's 6 years old with us. He's been with us since he was 14 months, and we met him at 3 months or 4 months. And so every time I say that story, particularly the ladies go, "Oh, they go, wow, it's so nice. It's so nice, so special what you did. Oh my God, oh that's amazing." And I always tell people the same thing. He did us the favor, you know, because at the end of the day, it not only did it mean so much for me and my wife's relationship. And, you know, he's just an incredible kid. But that, you know, it's amazing. We were trying to have a baby for 5 years. Nothing happened. And, you know, we'd gotten to the point, you know, we were still pretty young, but we got to the point where you start wondering, right, you know. And he got into our home. He came to our home permanently. And when he was 14 months, 2 weeks later, we found out I was pregnant. And we had
that happens so much, Ray.
Isn't it crazy?
I've heard that story. Yes, people relax
crazy?
and then they get pregnant.
Yeah, well, sure you can look at it that way. But just the idea that, you know, instead of worrying about ourselves and focusing on, you know, opening our hearts to what, in our case, in our thinking, God had planned for us. You know, we found out about him and met him, and that was the end of that. You know, it took about 10 months. That's my wife and I need to do a show about it because it was talk about a journey. But giving is so powerful. Wanted to let see if we have any brave souls watching live here on the Blab platform. And we really appreciate everyone hanging in through our technical glitches and this great conversation with Valentina and Wendy from Mamas con Ganas brand. If they want to join the show, ask a question on the show. Don't be shy. We don't bite. It's a fun group, and we do have an open chair. So if Letty or Felix or anyone else, Donna or Cindy or any of our friends watching would like to say hello on air or ask a question as we hit the home stretch of the show, that'll be great. Before we ask the last few questions, Valentina, Wendy, remind people again about where they can find the Mamas con Ganas online platform, and any special announcements. When is your podcast starting? I feel like, you know, this is like the Game of Thrones debut. I mean, this is like, you know, the anticipation is at a fever pitch. So any shout outs, anything you have going on you want to mention that's happening at the Mamas con Ganas platform?
You want to take it away?
We aim for June. We actually opened up the category of en español in our website. So that's been the project for May. And also we're having on our YouTube channel, which you can find us at Mamas con Ganas TV on YouTube, we have their we're going to have Monday starting June in Spanish and then Wednesday in Spanglish. So you'll get both of the episodes in Spanish and Spanglish on our YouTube starting June. And then we aim of our podcast to start in June too, sometime in June. We don't have a date yet.
Okay, this is exciting. This is exciting.
Let me tell you, Ray, we are so excited about the podcast. Yeah. It's like every time Wendy and I start talking about the podcast, we just start like jumping up and down because we know that it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna get to talk about such relevant, topics for women and be able to let to send it out there in a different format. And podcasts are so good. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so it's a really good format. It's another way people can.
It's an addicting habit. The Edison research recently was published. The average podcast listener listens to 6 hours of audio a day. Now that's not all podcast audio, but it just speaks to the fact that it's a really addicting habit, and more Americans in this case who are just getting used to that, consuming content that way, just love it because it's portable and there's a lot of interesting content out there that you're not going to get just by turning on basic cable. So it's and obviously in diverse communities, there's just a gulf of you certainly can't rely on, with all due respect, 2 or 3 major Spanish language media outlets for all the content that needs to be produced from our perspective in idioma de Dios. So thank you so much for providing the Spanish language content as well. As we wrap up the show, just wanted to give, again, anyone wants to jump on, we certainly can, we'll take on any final questions. Wanted to shout out, speaking of Latina podcasters, Cindy Rodriguez and Natalie Falfan from the Morado Lens podcast just kicked off their podcast recently. So wanted to shout them out. I don't know how a Peruvian woman and Ecuadorian woman do a podcast together because they constantly have to be arguing about quien tiene mejor ceviche and all these border war issues that these two countries have had. And we certainly know who plays the best soccer. Well, I can see Wendy of those two countries. Yes. But that's another story for another time. But much respect to Cindy and Natalie, and look forward to having them on Race Talk Show very soon. And congratulations on their podcast. So Wendy and Valentina, just curious about your latest blog, which I thought is so timely as it relates to life balance. And I know it got a lot of reaction on social media, particularly because I think you wrote it in Spanglish. And I think the power of the Spanish language is so powerful when it comes to this conversation. So Valentina, talk to us about not only the blog you recently penned, but also the reaction you got from your online community.
Yes, I know I'm frozen again, but I don't want to refresh and then get frozen while I'm talking. Okay, so this vlog about finding balance, we thought was very important to do as well, because I think it's something that we all struggle with. We all think that life has to be perfect, that everything has to be, that we're supposed to live in a certain way where one day we're going to wake up and everything is going to be aligned, all the rows in a row, ducks in a row, like they say. But we all have this feeling sometimes of overwhelmment, and when we're talking about wearing all these different hats, and finding that balance in life is a lot harder, said or done than said. So what we did is basically get tips for finding life balance. Again, it's not meant to make your life perfect, but to help you find sort of making it a little bit easier as you go along. Because life is about balance. And we love this quote from Ellen DeGeneres. She said, life is about balance, the good and the bad, the highs and the lows, the piña and the colada. So we gave a couple of tips there. We have to, I think one of the first things we need to do is to be easy on ourselves, because we criticize ourselves a lot. And we think we're not, a lot of times we're our own worst critic. And I think the first step into finding sort of, or at least a feeling of finding life balance, is to say to ourselves, okay, I'm trying my best, maybe I'm not perfect. I'm trying my best. Let's see what else I can do to make my life maybe a little bit easier, or so that I can deal with all the different things that I'm doing, but to not be so hard on ourselves. We had a really cool reaction from this blog, because a lot of people had the same response. We had given the tip of learning how to say no, because a lot of times, and as women, we struggle a lot with that. we always want to say yes, and we're pleasers.
Yeah.
But a lot of
We're
times,
super moms.
yeah, we're super moms. You know, a lot of times that doesn't help us stick to our priorities, and we say yes to a million things, and then we become overwhelmed. And so, you know, life is complicated enough without having others dictate your entire schedule. And we got a lot of reaction with that tip, because a lot of women were like, yes, I don't know how to say no. I had such a hard time saying no. And I think it's something that not all of us struggle with, but I think a lot of women, and in our culture even more so, because, you know, we have guests.
Powerful emotion.
Yes. No, you know, no, a lot of people have a hard time saying no. We actually want to say yes to everything, but maybe we can't do everything. And I think one of the first steps into sort of putting our life into place so that we're not so overwhelmed is learning how to say yes to the things that we should, and perhaps say no in a nice way, obviously, when we can't do those things, and not hurt anybody's feelings, but to also stand in our ground and not say yes to everything that comes our way. So that was one of the most interesting things, is that people really resonate with that, with the fact that they had a hard time saying no. And then we added a little bit of in the Spanglish version of the episode, I did a little Sofia Vergara accent that I love to do, that I always do it with Wendy when we're on the phone. And I switched, I just do it just to make her laugh. And I decided to make the episode interesting. Oops, I think we lost you, Ray. We lost Ray for a second.
I hear him. I mean, I see him.
Yeah. As far as I can tell, I'm still here. So
Okay, there you go.
folks are bugging around, but you know what I say about Sophia? She's wonderful, but she's doing a good job pretending she has a Puerto Rican accent. Oh, it's kind of interesting. But what I'm curious, especially from your corporate experience, any thoughts on this issue of life balance, particularly with Latinos in the corporate world, which is an incredible challenge, because not only, you know, just women as mothers climbing the corporate ladder is a challenge regardless. And then you have this additional responsibilities, because let me tell you, corporate America is always squeezing the Latina staffers for every single thing. You got to be the translator, you got to be the Latino market advisor. There's just a lot of hats that, because of your diverse skills, you end up having to play, unfortunately, oftentimes, and probably get underpaid for it, certainly. So just any thoughts about this life balance piece for those women that are in the corporate space? I would be curious. What are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. So it's interesting, because we hear a lot in corporate America. I've heard it in GE and in Coke and Carnival and Pioneer, that work-life balance, and they actually have lectures and trainings on work-life balance, but it really does not exist. I wish I could tell you it exists, but it really doesn't. I think one of my managers and mentors at that time, I was traveling like 70% of the time to Latin America. I was leading the Latin America region, and I felt like I was seeing my family, seeing my friends. I was like up in the air, sleeping out of a luggage, and I would even forget what was the next country I had to be in. That, you know, I talked to my manager and I said, "Oh my God, like this is overwhelming. I love my job," but and she said to me, she said, "You know, corporate is going to take as much as they want from you. The more you give them, the more they're going to take." And it's true. So she's like, it's up to you to shut off your screen at a certain time and manage that. And if you have to spend time with family or go and work out or whatever it is, that's up to you. As long as I'm not saying slack off, make sure you meet your deliverables and be a high performer. But it is important to give yourself that time with family. Family comes first. And family, like in our episode, you can't drop family. Family, it's like very fragile. So, job will be there. It would always be there. And if you need to take that time for you have to do it. And, whether it's timing on your own or with friends or just going on a vacation. And that's another thing that they say, and I saw it more on the East Coast. On the West Coast, it was different. And it was great for me to experience corporate America and East Coast and West Coast because the mentality is completely different. On the East Coast, you kind of feel a little bit intimidated for asking vacation. But on the West Coast, on the other hand, they really encourage you to take vacation. And I work for GE and I experienced both of that.
Is it the West Coast or is it Silicon Valley in specific?
Well, I think it's just the West Coast mentality, and And I had my manager come in and say, and oh, I think you dropped now, Ray. Are you there?
I'm here. I see.
No, I think he dropped.
He dropped. Oh, Wendy, I just wanted to say, because somebody asked what I just read at Latino Connect PA if I could recommend some shows. I actually love the Meaningful HQ podcasts by Dean Bakari, and Bakari is Bokhari. They have a lot. He has a lot of podcasts regarding. It's inspirational, but also has to do with work. So check them out. I know, Wendy, you listen to other things as well. And then I also listened to a live stream of Marianne Williamson, and she talks. It's more of a spiritual type of live stream. So I love listening to her as well. She only does it once a week though, but you can if you subscribe to her weekly, you can actually listen to it for free. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Ray's like logging in. I see his icon right there. Well, for me, it's more. I go to different ones. I don't think I have a particular one. I just go to different topics on TED Talk, or I'll look into Richard Branson's blog, and I think that's one of the things that kind of motivates me. And every now and then I'll hear like some sort of podcast from General Electric, just because that's kind of in my DNA, DE. But I would go back and forth, and depending on what I'm listening to. And there we go, Jay.
Yeah, we love to.
Ray,
we are back. We are back. That is really cool. Let's thank you for everyone hanging in with our technical glitches. We have a very special guest, a great show. Let's see what's the. Who I know is feeling this conversation. Thank you, Letty, for having her on. I don't know if Valentina there. Do you guys see Valentina?
I mean,
I see.
Here, I'm just frozen. I'm gonna try to refresh here.
Come on, Letty. All right. But as you're waiting for Wendy, again, remind people, Wendy, where they can find Mamas con Ganas.
Mamas con Ganas, we have all the social media handles as Mamas con Ganas, or you can go to mamasconganas.com, and on YouTube it's Mamas con Ganas TV.
We have a very brave soul, Letty Steele. Letty, hello. You're
Hi.
Do you say hello, everybody?
Hi, everyone. I was feeling peer pressure. I am Letty Bustillos, and I'm Ray and I were students together way back in the day, and then we worked together for a little while. So I figured I'd come on and say hello.
Hi. Letty, what do you talk to us about? What do you think of this conversation? I'd love to get your reflections.
Oh my gosh. I have to say that I think the conversation at this point, I guess where I am in my life right now, is so incredibly timing. And I have to say thank you for everything that you shared. I joined the conversation late, so I didn't hear everything. So I'll have to go back and hear the podcast. But I thought it was really terrific, especially a lot of what you were talking about, this whole notion of, your self-worth and imposter syndrome, which is something that I've battled with my entire life. So it's really refreshing to know that I'm not the only one. So, and I think just everything that I'm hearing, it's about, there's a lot of just risk taking and just being able to, throw yourself out there and say, yes, I can. And I think that's where I'm at right now in terms of where I am and professionally, personally, etc. So I really appreciate the conversation.
Do you have any questions for our friends here, Valentina and Wendy?
I don't know if I have any questions. I think it's just what was, again, I joined the conversation late, so I don't want to be redundant, but I think it's, at what point did you say, I'm going to do this? I'm just going to do this.
That's a good question.
And I think that's kind of.
What put you over the top? Because I know you said you were talking about it, but that's a good question for the Mamas con Ganas crew. What do you think was the key to really get it into action for you both?
Oh, you want to answer?
I think, go ahead, because I think we both have pretty different and similar answers.
Okay, so I went to this, I was hosting a show for Batanga Once. I was writing and being the TV host for it. It was about music. And I was supposed to be, as an actor, it was a pretty cool gig because I was supposed to be hired for a year. Woo! Usually we get hired for a commercial and then we have to go back on unemployment and try to get rehired again. So that, you know, it didn't go the entire year because our sponsor was no longer there. And I was really disappointed. I was really going through a hard time because I was really loving that job. I was getting to express myself because I got to write. I discovered that I love to write while I was doing that job and doing the whole TV hosting thing because, you know, Wendy was talking about being nervous on camera earlier, but it's also interesting that as an actor, I was not also used to being on camera as myself. I was used to being on camera as another persona. So I would get hired, to play Veronica or to play Kathy or to play Sandy, but I was never myself on camera. Anyways, when the whole Batanga thing didn't pan out, even though I was enjoying it and they were happy with me, I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do now that I realized I love to write and I wanted to keep doing that. And then I took a course. I went to take a TV hosting course in LA, and it sort of opened my mind that week because I realized that there was a way to put myself online. And then I was thinking, how do I merge what I love, all the self-improvement, all the self-help, and wanting to empower Latina women with this love that I have for entertainment? And then a month later, Wendy, or 2 months later, after I was doing the research on my own, Wendy and I had a conversation, and she was going through something of her own. I'm going to pass the mic to you now.
Yeah, so I had moved to Napa, and I kind of wanted to start my own thing. I was helping my husband in his practice, and then, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm such a corporate person. I need to go back to corporate. So I went back, and then I felt like it didn't belong there anymore for some reason. Not because I don't love it, because I do love working for big corporations, but I felt like you know, if tomorrow, God forbid, something happens to me and I die, I want to be able to say I did something and to help others grow. I've helped a lot of businesses grow. It's time for me to help other Latinas grow. And that was kind of like the big thing that I always had a passion for. And the biggest thing that I said is like, well, I'm going to take a little faith. And I saw myself that I was putting so much time into just trying to figure out what I'm going to do it, that I just had to just jump on it and just do it and put the fears aside. And I think fears are always going to be there, and it's part of the journey. And but I'm glad I took that leap of faith, and I'm doing, you know, Mamas con Ganas with Valentina, that we put that together. But I would say it was that. It was just like, it kind of felt like, you know, I needed to do something else. It was like a calling. And yeah, so.
As we, yes, no, please.
No, that our first episode, ironically, was about fear, because Wendy was talking about fear. We decided, okay,
powerful.
This is something that scares us, so let's write about it. Let's do it while we write about it. And yeah,
you know, it goes back to that. We didn't couch it this way earlier in the conversation, but it goes back to the concept of it's okay to be vulnerable, even in the content that you're producing. You know, I was sharing, Letty, I don't know if you know, that I was scared to admit when I started as a podcaster online that I'm not a technical guy. I'm not an audio engineer. So it's like a lot of the technical things were a little over my head. And I was like scared to like ask people. Then when I started asking people, it's a lot easier than I thought. So that's a very powerful thing that I'm learning as in this journey, that being vulnerable and being honest about what you don't know, people are more than willing. They don't look down on you because you haven't figured it out. They actually want to help you because they see the talent that you have and the voice that you have to share with other people. I was, and this imposter syndrome thing is heavy duty, because I was mentoring a mutual friend of me and Letty's the other day, and she was basically saying how she didn't know what her message would be, or the imposter syndrome thing. And I said, don't you have a PhD from Harvard? And she was like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, and you're wondering what your credibility is? You know, most of these people online are nobodies. You know what I mean? It's like really incredible. But kind of took her a second to realize that. But I'll hang as long as people want, but I want to wrap up the podcast for the show. Letty, as we wrap it up, any final questions or thoughts for our friends Valentina and Wendy?
No, like I said, this was a really good conversation. I'm sorry that I joined it late, but it was great to hear. It was really great to hear. So thank you.
That's great, right? And I can't wait for Letty to have a formal a guest on the show. Now that you've jumped in as a caller, the first of many times. And Valentina and Wendy, do me a favor. Keep in touch with Letty on Twitter and Instagram. You know, I know the Latinas where you highly index, Snapchat, and bug her to get her online platform going. I'll help her out whatever I can. But you gotta, I think she needs some Latina mentorship.
No pressure.
So I've only been like drilling in her for about a year. So, but this is good. This was the first step. She's tipping her toe in the water. This is good. Some blabs. She's doing her thing.
I'm trying.
Let you know how we do. So whatever you need, okay? And Valentina, when do you have the last word? This has been a great episode. And again, I'll hang as long as people want to hang. But I just want to wrap up the recording portion. And I know it's for Valentina. It's getting a little late on the East Coast, so I want to respect people's time. But just anything else, shout outs, ideas, anything else you'd like to share with our Race Talk Show community?
Well, I wanted to say thank you so much, Ray, for having us on. And for any Latinas out there that want, motivation on a regular basis on how to live their life con muchas ganas, check us out on our website and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we'd love to hear from you. And we'll say we'll leave a little slogan for the end. I don't know if
yes. Wendy, if I don't shout out, I know the slogan's coming. That's why I'm saying it. Wendy, anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
Ray, thank you so much. It was great that we met at the Hispanicize, and it's great that we continue being connected. And that's one of the visions that we have of Mamas con Ganas, is to inspire and empower organizations for Latinas, and and also work with Latinos and like-minded businesses and organizations like Ray. And this is when we come together that we're going to help our Latino community grow. I want to see a bunch of leader mamacitas and bunch of CEOs, mamacitas, and empower them. And I know when we connect with like-minded businesses, a lot of great things can happen. So thank you, Ray. Thank you for having us here. And we can do it. We can both now do the slogan if you want, Val.
Do it. Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
With that said, being said, don't be a
mama con drama.
Let's be mamas
con ganas.
All right.
Muchas ganas.
Wendy, Valentina, Letty, and all of our friends that joined the show, thank you again so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank